Okay, so you probably read that recently there is an agreement under the UNEA to have a global treaty on plastic pollution that's going to be formalized in a couple of years. So I decided to include a podcast on that here under new findings. Plastic is obviously a big part of the human impact on the environment. It is part of the climate change, even though we don't know the biophysical feedbacks involved. For example, in the ocean, it's definitely affecting the penetration of the solar radiation and momentum into the ocean, which affects the dynamics, the currents, and the ocean-atmosphere interactions and so on, just like even the phytoplankton do that, but we don't have a good handle on that yet. So keeping that in mind, it is relevant to talk about this here. The International Union of Conservation Networks provides this brief marine plastic pollution. We will talk about other parts as well, but to start with, over 300 million tons of plastic are produced every year for use in a wide variety of applications. At least 14 million tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year, and plastic makes up 80% of all marine debris found from the surface waters to the deep sediment. That's shocking, right? Marine species ingest or are entangled by plastic debris, which causes severe injuries and death. You've seen a lot of images of those sad pictures. Plastic pollution threatens food safety and quality, human health, coastal tourism, and contributes to climate change. As I said, there is an urgent need to explore new and existing legally binding agreements to address marine plastic pollution. There are, of course, pathways by which plastic enters the world oceans. These are the estimates of global plastics entering the ocean from land-based sources in 2010, based on the pathway from primary production of plastic through the marine plastic inputs. So in 2010, the number was 270 million tons per year. Goes from production into the system. So global plastic waste 275 million tons per year. So some of the previous year's production makes it into the use in the next year. Coastal plastic waste is at 99.5 million tons per year. Mismanaged coastal plastic waste at 31.9 million tons per year, and that out of that plastic inputs to the oceans 8 million tons per year. So 2 billion people living within 50 kilometers of the coastline, and this number is expected to keep increasing. Plastic in surface waters, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands tons. There is a wide range of estimates of the quantity of plastics in surface waters. Okay, where does the plastic accumulate in the ocean? We are looking at macroplastics in green, which are greater than 0.5 centimeter in diameter. There is some wind. There is really nice breeze. Mumbai is hot, obviously, but I have closed the balcony in this room, but there is some window coming from the breeze coming from the other room. So I will see if the recording is okay. If not, I have to re-record it, I suppose. Okay, so we are looking here at the changes in micro and macroplastic amounts and relative amounts from 1950 to 2015. On the shoreline dry lands, you have 82 million tons of macroplastics and 40 million tons of microplastic, and you can see that they both increased. Microplastic has dropped off, but macroplastic has increased, which is a sad thing. In the coastal regions of waters less than 200 meters, you have a increase and drop in the microplastic as well. But in the last 5 years, most macroplastic, 79% in the coastal environment, is accumulated. So that is less than 5 years old. We have to figure out why this happened, but this is obviously horrific news. Offshore, so deep waters greater than 200 meters, again, there is an increase in macroplastic, and microplastic has again dropped off recently, but so is macroplastic in the total reduction. But again, this is hardly enough of a reduction, and the global treaty obviously wants to take care of this disaster. The other things being looked at, of course, are bioremediations, biocatalysis, biological degradation of plastic. This is just a schematic from this paper, and there is another schematic I'll show which argues that biological degradation is the most sustainable way of doing it. So there are genetically engineered microbes and enzymes which are being used now. So here is production of plastic that is going to end up as polymer waste, and then the biological degradation is facilitated on the surfaces of these things with various fungi and bacteria. I'm not going to go into the details. They have secretion of extracellular enzymes, so the microbial enzymes which are depolymerases, which means they're enzymes that break down the polymers into macromers and monomers. So there is biofragmentation, and then there is visual biofragmentation. You can see here big bag of plastic getting degraded. They are metabolized by microorganisms, so there is a pathway in which energy is used, and CO2 and H2O and ATP are produced, and useful molecules are also produced along the way. The microbial biomass then receives this energy to feed. So you can go this way and this way here. Okay, so just a quick run through that just like oil spills are being remediation of oil spills is being done with bacteria that are being brought in and sprayed that eat hydrocarbons and accelerate the degradation of oil spills. We can hopefully see soon the biodegradation of plastic pollution as well. And of course, bad news, just 2 days ago, discovery and quantification of plastic particle pollution in human blood. Okay, it's been known that even the little plastic tea bags that we use produce nanoparticles of plastic which are small enough to make into the digestive tract, into the bloodstream, and now we have to figure out what the impacts are. Just like the PM 2.5, which is found to affect not only respiratory health and asthma, but also diabetes, maybe mental disease, and so on and so forth. So this paper argues that biocatalytic approaches are the best way to produce environmental friendly, good quality recycled plastic, because the mechanical methods produce poor quality recycled plastic. Thermal methods cause air pollution and toxic gas generation, and they are energy consuming. Chemical approaches use of harsh chemicals, and these are unsustainable according to this paper, whereas biocatalytic approaches that include enzymes like hydrolases, which are used to degrade polyethylene at high temperatures, produce environmental friendly, good quality recycled plastic. In the meantime, UNEA developed a framework for a global treaty on plastic pollution. So recently UNEA voted to formulate an international legally binding instrument by 2024 to end plastic pollution. The decision was taken at the UNEA session and was agreed upon by representatives from 175 countries. Great news, right? Most of the world was there. About the resolution, it identifies the threat that plastic pollution poses to human health and in all environments, focuses on the need to undertake measures throughout the life cycle of plastics. Overall theme of UNEA session was strengthening actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So SDGs have to be served by this global treaty on plastic pollution as well. This recognizes the role of private sector and stakeholders in implementation of the treaty. promises action at local, regional, and global levels while keeping in mind the importance of plastics for society, and also identifies the importance of indigenous communities and their age-old practices to keep the environment pollution free. Okay, so I got this infographic from insightsOnIndia.com. As for impacts of plastic waste, the infographic provides information on economic losses, implications for animals in terms of aquatic, marine, and terrestrial ecosystems. Plastic ingestion is noted, and chemicals leached from the plastic also contain harmful chemical compounds that impact human health, leading to various hormonal and genetic disorders. These chemicals can interfere with the functioning of the endocrine system and thyroid hormones, and can be very destructive to women of reproductive age and young women. So there is land pollution, groundwater pollution, and invasive species, because plastic waste can also be a mode of transport for species into an environment where they were previously absent. I have other podcasts where we have seen that the marine debris also is facilitating new ecosystems, which in fact can be invasive ecosystems. So their impact on the previously existing food webs has to be understood as well. The pros and cons: a uniform set of laws applies to all countries, thereby boosting the cumulative effort across the globe to tackle plastic pollution. This strengthens the global drive to curb the plastic pollution of all types, land, marine, etc. Helps build a financial mechanism to boost the efforts towards fighting plastic pollution. Of course, cons are that not all countries could be able to abide by the treaty, as alternative to plastic may be unaffordable or inaccessible or unavailable. This is always an issue. Quantity, quality, and access goes against the common but differentiated responsibilities principle. Remember that under the UN, IPCC, and so on, for climate mitigation and adaptation, we always look at how this environmental protection, biodiversity, climate change are common responsibilities, but they are differentiated with respect to respective capacities, because not all countries were historically responsible and they don't have the wherewithal to do their part in terms of mitigation, or have the ability to adapt to the changes imposed by the emissions from mostly rich countries. So it is now obvious that financial tools have to be made available to help everybody, which is true for plastic pollution as well. As for India, there have been many measures taken so far. So it has draft rules that mandate producers of plastic packaging material to collect all of their produce by 2024. Environmental Ministry has notified the Plastic Waste Management Amendment rules. These rules prohibit specific single-use plastic items which have low utility and high littering potential by 2022. The permitted thickness of plastic bags, currently 50 microns, will be increased to 75, and so on. The Central Pollution Control Board, along with the state pollution bodies, will monitor the ban. India has also won global acclaim for its Beat Plastic Pollution Resolve. India has also won global acclaim for its Beat Plastic Pollution Resolve, declared on World Environment Day last year, which is in 2021, to encourage innovation in development of alternatives to single-use plastic and digital solutions to plastic waste management. The India Plastic Challenge Hackathon 2021 was organized for students of higher educational institutions and startups. Okay, ways forward, including ensuring that all plastic waste leaving our homes is segregated and is not contaminated with food waste, because that makes recycling harder. Managing plastic waste requires effective knowledge, not only among those who produce it but also among those who handle it. Citizens have to bring behavioral change and contribute by not littering and helping in waste segregation and waste management. Startups and industries should think of newer ways of recycling plastic. And finally, plastic waste scenarios in India. According to Central Pollution Control Board, India generates close to 26,000 tons of plastic a day. and over 10,000 tons a day of plastic waste remains uncollected. So there is an issue systemically as well. In general, large parts of India, systematic garbage collection is still not mandated. Some neighborhoods have it, big cities have it, but not so in the smaller rural areas and towns and so on. India's per capita plastic consumption of less than 11 kg is nearly a tenth of the United States of America at 109 kilograms per person. Obviously, this is good news, but it's good to make sure that this doesn't go up. So if it is 11 kilograms per person, all the measures only should make sure that it keeps going down further and not increase, because as the middle class gets richer and Amazon and other online services become much more used by people, packaging material, plastic continue to go up. Food services, delivery services also are increasing, especially after COVID. So all those things have to be monitored as well. So something good to look forward to in terms of the global treaty on plastic pollution by 2024. It's going to be legally defined, and then hopefully it'll begin to crank down the plastic pollution on land, ocean, and even human bodies, hopefully, right? Okay, see you in the next podcast.